comic book realm where heroes rise and villains take the helm. We're here to dissect the stories and the art. On source material, we tear the panels
Ladies
apart.
and gentlemen, welcome to the Source Material Comics Podcast. If you look outside right now, I hope it's snowing. I hope that Christmas lights are kind of shining off of the snow-covered ground. And, you know, you might hear some jingle bells. Santa Claus might be on his way. Or it might just be the Thing and Ghost Rider. That's right. Welcome to our discussion on Marvel 2-in-1 number 8. And I am not alone. Of course not. You spend Christmas with friends and family. And over there is Chris Armstrong. Chris Armstrong, dude, 1974. Okay, I wasn't alive. I know you wasn't alive. But we're going to be talking. When do me and you talk Bronze Age comics?
It's rare.
It's very rare.
As a matter of fact, I don't think it's ever happened.
That's the truth. I don't think we've ever had a chance to sit down and talk Bronze Age comics. And we are going to talk one tonight because of this man, Evan Bevins. You suggested this story for Marvel 2-in-1 number 8. And I want to give you the floor, sir, to let us know why this one speaks to you.
Because this is why I read comics.
Ooh.
This kind of absolute insanity brought to you by none other than Steve Gerber, co-creator of Howard the Duck himself. And as I am honor-bound to say whenever the subject of Howard comes up, if you only know Howard the Duck from the 1980s movie, whatever you think of it and however much you appreciate Leah Thompson, you do not know Howard the Duck. Steve Gerber has a long and storied career in comics, for which Howard the Duck is just one of many wonderful contributions.
That's the truth.
And Marvel 2-in-1 is a series that I knew about. I would get random back issues of it when I was a kid. It was The Thing, the ever-lovin' blue-eyed idol of millions, Benjamin J. Grimm himself, Aunt Petunia's favorite nephew, teaming up with all sorts of luminaries and C-list characters from across the Marvel Universe. And the first 8 issues of that series were written by Steve Gerber. The series kicks off when The Thing, after getting caught up in a larger cosmic crossover, goes to Florida because he has seen some headlines about Man-Thing, and he thinks that guy's infringing on his copyright. It's just Ben Grimm, working his way through the Marvel Universe, lending a helping hand, being a lovable grump, and being Ben Grimm.
Okay.
And it is magical.
Yeah. Steve Gerber, fantastic writer. I've got a little bit of a history here for him, but...
Creator of Sludge. We don't want to forget about his greatest contribution to comics.
Creator of Sludge. That's right.
But a lot of Ultraverse.
That's right. Chris, how many Bronze Age comics do you probably own?
I could count them on both hands and feet. I remember when I first got into collecting comics in the very early 90s, comic conventions for me were a ballroom at a hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
With just a bunch of dealers. There were no celebrities there. It was basically just a bunch of comic and baseball card dealers setting up at tables and finding stuff like Marvel 2-in-1 and ROM and stuff like that. You could find a lot of that stuff cheap in what were the equivalent of dollar boxes. I would occasionally pick up stuff like that. As I said before, mostly on the Unspoken Issues podcast. There came a time in the mid-90s where I had to get rid of my collection, and then I restarted it again a few years later. Most of that stuff was gone by then. I haven't read a ton of Bronze Age stuff. I have read more of the Marvel horror stuff.
Oh, yeah. Tomb of Dracula.
On the Marvel app. Yeah, Tomb of Dracula, some of the Ghost Rider, Werewolf by Night, stuff like that.
Millie the Model.
I mean, horror, yes, but that's not the type of horror I'm... And yeah, it's a lot of times I wish I could just read that stuff with, like, could somebody make a second pass on the dialogue and make it a little more palatable for modern audiences? Not that it's bad, and I know the style of writing was the way it was for a reason back then. It just feels dated a lot of times, but it doesn't make them less fun. Like, I really enjoyed reading this, so yeah.
I tend to agree with you there. Bronze Age comics have their place in comic book history, and I think we're coming out of a time where comics are starting to grow a bit more adult. There's still these kind of Bronze Age things that's got to happen in a comic. Like, there has to be more explanation as to what happens. The writer has to get paid, and the writer doesn't want anything lost on the reader, for sure. That's probably what they were thinking a lot of times.
They're still writing to kids, basically.
Right.
Even in the 70s, there were a lot of teenage and older college kids reading comics, but the general audience was still younger kids.
Yeah. So, Evan, unless you got something else, I've got a little bit of history here on Steve Gerber. 1974 for Steve Gerber. This apparently hit the shelves December of 1974. Just to throw our creative team out here, Steve Gerber writing, penciled by Sal Buscema, inked by Michael Esposito, lettered by Charlotte Jeter, colored by George Roussos, and I would be remiss if I did not mention who does the cover here. Gil Kane and Joe Sennett.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
On the cover here. Those are two big names for sure.
2 in 1.
Indeed.
And hey, Jesse, don't skip the editor.
Oh, and the editor is?
Lynn Wein.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there it is. There's the credit. Wow. So, yeah, I mean...
All-Star Squadron here.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, wrong company.
But you're not wrong, because these are all names that have had a significant impact on the comic book industry. So, yeah, to watch or to see this 2-in-1 number 8 unfold, it's something else. I'm going to go ahead and get into a little bit here about Steve Gerber in 1974. Gerber has dozens of credits across multiple Marvel titles, with especially heavy output on Man-Thing, Daredevil, Marvel Spotlight, The Defenders, Fear, Giant-Size Man-Thing, Giant-Size Defenders, and Haunt of Horror. This is the first year where he becomes a very prolific writer for Marvel. In Man-Thing, he's doing Man-Thing number 4 through 15, plus the Giant-Size issue. These issues include Wundar's introduction, which I think he pops up in. He's mentioned in this, isn't he?
Oh, yes. Don't get me started on Wundar.
There's a story called Song Cry of the Living Dead Man, which apparently happens in the Man-Thing book. We get some early Fool Killer material in that book, and there's a lot of deep psychological stories in there as well. It's arguably one of his most important work of the year. Daredevil 109 through 117, Gerber writes a long consecutive stretch this year. The book takes on a stranger, more mystical edge.
Part of his writing on Daredevil was part of the original Thanos saga, believe it or not.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. The Defenders, number 20 and 21. He's beginning his run there, leading into some
Oh, heck yeah.
into the bizarre Headman saga.
Yes, indeed. Ruby Thursday.
Ruby Thursday, that's right. All right, Marvel Spotlight, number 15 through 20. He focuses on the Son of Satan stories. Gerber pushes Marvel horror into more psychologically intense territory. It becomes more occult, more experimental. Fear, number 21 through 25. Dracula Lives, number 6 and number 10, which are just short horror stories. He's got some anthology and magazine work, which he was part of Crazy Magazine, number 5. Haunt of Horror, number 1, and Zombie, number 8. I know of Crazy Magazine, but I don't know about the other two. So, this is 1 year, the year before Howard the Duck ends up. First appearance is what, 75?
No. Okay. Howard the Duck's first appearance was September 11th, 1973.
73.
In Adventure into Fear number 19.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, yeah, we're a year after.
I would also be remiss. I know we're focusing on 1974, but since we went back 1 year to his landmark introduction of Howard the Duck, it was in 1975 that he introduced perhaps his most infamous Defenders creation, the Elf with a Gun.
All right, that's 1974 and Steve Gerber. So we are going to be talking about a book that hit the shelves at the end of 74. Evan, I'm going to give you the floor here, and I know you've got a synopsis ready for this thing. Let's hear it.
Yes, sir. Well, I first encountered this issue in one of the best things Marvel ever did, Essential Marvel 2-in-1. I got to admit, I don't go back and peruse them as much as I used to because so much is available online, legally, in full color. But those phone book size collections where you just got huge chunks of black and white comics that at that point you weren't sure you were ever going to get a chance to read.
Mm-hmm.
And I have almost the complete run of Marvel 2-in-1. There were 2 issues due to licensing things that they couldn't get in there, although I have since tracked those issues down in the wild. It was a black and white reprint that launched this issue directly into my heart.
Love it.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and in Arizona, Ghost Rider, the Johnny Blaze edition, almost collides with a trio of camel-riding wise men, following a star to find a child foretold by prophecy. Blaze politely declines their offer to join them. One of them says, "Hey, we've got enough frankincense and myrrh to say some of it's from you," but rides into town to investigate. Meanwhile, the ever-lovin' blue-eyed thing is trying to convince Mr. Fantastic to join his family for their Christmas party. But Reed Richards is intently studying the new star in the heavens. Ben heads down to the soiree himself, featuring the FF's extended supporting cast and an overly elaborate and rather explosive tree lighting set up by Mr. Fantastic. Ghost Rider, meanwhile, has discovered a little town in the desert that looks more like it belongs in the Middle East of biblical times than the southwestern USA. Its Native American inhabitants are dressed for that period as well, including longtime friend of the FF, Wyatt Wingfoot, as the keeper of an inn that doesn't have any room. Just as Blaze finds a mother, father, and newborn baby in the stable, a shadowy figure conjures a whirlwind to cast him out of town. Back in New York, Reed informs Ben Grimm that the star seems to be pointing right at the reservation where Wyatt Wingfoot's tribe lives. He's about to take the team's pogo plane to investigate. But the Thing, a good guy if ever there was one, insists he'll check it out while his best friend finally spends some time with his family. The Thing and Ghost Rider meet on the outskirts of the little town and commandeer the wise men's camels and attire to move in undetected. When they deliver their gifts to the child, the mystery man proclaims his scenario complete, an ultimate power within his grasp. Thing recognizes this would-be mastermind as the Miracle Man, an obscure FF villain removed from the mortal plane by the Chimuzwa, powerful Native American mystics who taught him the fantastical powers that allow him to alter matter and do whatever else the plot calls for. Transforming nearby stable animals into massive monsters to restrain the interlopers, Miracle Man explains that he tricked the Chimuzwa and changed one of their number into the child. He believes he can attain ultimate power by recreating the nativity and controlling a new messiah. And he would have gotten away with it if it hadn't been for Ghost Rider and the Thing interfering with his recreation. When his powers waver, possibly due to the scale on which he's using him, this is some WandaVision level stuff here.
Oh, yeah.
The heroes escape, and Miracle Man attempts to destroy the reservation in a fire. Seemingly unaffected by the flames, Ghost Rider begins evacuating the residents while Thing pursues their fleeing foe. Miracle Man increases his own strength to battle Grimm, who promptly dispatches him with his trademark line, "It's clobberin' time."
Oh, yeah.
While most of Miracle Man's changes fade, the transformed Chimuzwa child remains, and Wyatt promises the tribe will raise him. Ghost Rider rides away, wondering whether his immunity to the flames was a divine gift or a trick of Satan, who didn't want him to escape his clutches by dying while doing good. And a Merry Christmas to all, and to all, a good night.
That's right. That is right. Chris Armstrong, I'm starting with you first. What are your notes here for our story, which, by the way, is titled Silent Night, Deadly Night?
Deadly Night.
Yes. Chris Armstrong, what are your notes here, bud?
I'm going to start with the cover. Pretty sweet. You mentioned the artist, the pencil learning earlier, but I just assumed Buscema did it before you corrected me earlier. But pretty indicative of what we're going to get, kind of a wild scene of Ghost Rider crashing in on the Nativity with Ben Grimm hanging on for dear life.
Yeah. That's a great cover. It really is. I mean, him just hanging on there as Ghost Rider. Have they teamed before, Evan? Is this their first team up as far as
I don't believe they have. Some of the dialogue that makes it clear that although Ben knows who Johnny Blaze is, I don't believe he understands the full extent of what's going on here.
He seems to know him by reputation as a stunt cyclist, but doesn't know who Ghost Rider is.
Okay.
Yeah. Ghost Rider's a thing.
Unintentional.
Oh, goodness.
Own it, man. Own it.
You know, I'm a pretty big fan of early to mid 90s era Ghost Rider with Danny Ketch. This is a very different type of Ghost Rider. It seems like his bike is just a regular motorcycle.
Yeah.
Rather than the flame-wheeled hog that Danny Ketch rides around on. Right. When Danny transforms into Ghost Rider, it's like a different entity, basically. Whereas this pretty much just seems to be all Johnny Blaze all the time. As a matter of fact, it doesn't seem like he can even change back into Johnny Blaze in this issue. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what all is going on with Ghost Rider in his own book at this time. They do make a reference at some point about a recent issue or whatever, but
he's only...
Yeah, at one point he was, the Ghost Rider part of him was, the demon Zarathos, but he has gotten some measure of control back. It may be the body of Ghost Rider, but it's the mind of Johnny Blaze. Ben seems to think he's just wearing a cool helmet.
Yeah, I was going to say, at this point, he's about 2 years into Marvel. Ghost Rider first appeared in 1972. Marvel Spotlight number 5. So, yeah, he's only got a couple years continuity underneath him right now. Interesting. Go ahead.
To be fair, a stunt cyclist with a flaming skull helmet is not near the top of the list of weird things Ben Grimm has encountered this Christmas.
That's totally fair. Totally fair.
He's like, sure, his helmet's on fire.
All right.
Although I don't think she even says anything in this issue. I did not know Namorita went back this far into Marvel continuity. Now, this is the same Namorita I assume that's going to be in the New Warriors later?
Yes. Yes, she is. I mean, your cousin doesn't hang out with your married, unrequited crush?
Not yet. Yeah, the main thing that stands out about this issue, regardless of how it's resolved, is what an odd premise for a comic.
It really is. And that's Gerber all the way, man.
Yeah, just basically Ghost Riders, cruising through the desert on his motorbike, comes across the 3 wise men on their way to Bethlehem. He knows there's something familiar about what's going on, and something is a little off. Even when he has this confrontation with, quote-unquote, the creator, that's obviously like, we're supposed to think that's God initially.
Right.
They never come out and say God. They never come out and say Jesus. It's all inferred.
Oh, they had to be very careful back then. Don't know Ghost Rider's friend they mentioned. That's an awkward behind-the-scenes tale.
You'll have to enlighten me. They're quick to throw Satan's name out there several times.
Oh, yeah.
In regard to Ghost Rider. But I did find it odd that apparently that's a flame retardant headgear that he wears into the to the end at the end where this Miracle Man guy, I'd never heard of this character, showed up apparently in issue 3 or 4 of Fantastic.
Yeah, Fantastic Four number 3. And then there is a reference to a more recent appearance.
Contemporary with this?
Yes. Yeah, like FF, I want to say 139.
Okay.
Something like that. Well, I started to say I'd never heard of him. I had read Fantastic Four number 3 in an essential volume. Mm-hmm. And in one of those Marvel Adventures comics where they sometimes went back and actually did kind of what you were saying, modernize some of the Bronze Age stories. Mm-hmm. So I have a digest size trade where Sean McKeever redid the first 3 issues. I'm always a fan of just about anything Sean McKeever does. Yeah. But yeah, he did not make much of an impression until this issue.
Well, he seems to have the power of Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, essentially, in this issue until the end.
His real power is his ego. Because despite his near limitless power, he grossly overestimates what he's able to do.
I looked him up briefly on Wikipedia, and apparently after this, I don't think he appears again until he's killed in a Punisher issue in the late aughts.
Yep. By
the Scourge of the Underworld.
All the mighty have fallen.
But boy, he's got away with words, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Especially
he is not lacking for confidence.
At one point, I think this is his second rant at the heroes when he calls them dull-witted, earthbound lice. Loathsome, maggot-brained, dirt-eating worms. Well done, Gerber. This was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a really unique Christmas issue. It's always fun when comics can tie into a holiday, especially DC. It seems a lot of times does them more recently, have the Halloween specials where it's like 25, 3 to 4 page stories in a big like $10 or $12 comic, and most of it's garbage. There's a couple of good ones in there, maybe. But yeah, when you can find a good one that ties into a holiday, that's always a bonus. And they're usually actual full-length comics, not just some of the specials that you like. It seemed like when Marvel did those like summer and winter specials in the early 90s, a lot of those were maybe inventory comics that were getting put to use.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how those got put together. Maybe I'm just remembering them more fondly because I was a kid when I read a lot of those. But
yeah.
Anyway, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, according to Marvel fandom, the Miracle Man's weakness is eye contact. Miracle Man's hypnotic powers apparently only worked upon making eye contact. As such, blinding him would render him powerless.
Oh, okay. So losing eye contact. I was going to say a super villain whose weakness is eye contact might be the most I've ever related to a comic book character. It's like, no.
Oh, man. Yeah, which makes sense because what's his name? Thing throws sand in his eyes, messes his concentration up, and that's where they get the upper hand. Don't tease me with time travel at the beginning of a book when it's not time travel. I was so upset that I thought, oh my gosh.
What?
I thought he had went.
What a betrayal.
What a betrayal. What a revolting development.
Jesse, you thought that he was going to go from Arizona to Bethlehem? You're just not thinking fourth dimensionally.
Ah, beautiful. I will give you so much credit for that. I thought Ghost Rider ended up back in time. First off, he's out in the desert, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? That was my initial thought. And then I was like, oh, okay. That is not the case here. Instead, we get a much weirder story. Just straight up time travel, which is a very weird thing to say. Reed, again, neglecting his family. I don't know how many Fantastic Four books that I have discussed where Reed is always obsessed with some kind of crazy thing. I'm glad that they decided to address it at some point in the comics because clearly Sue would be fed up with this man at some point. We are in 1974. It's Christmas Eve. And he's like, I've got to get the telescope. I got to see what's going on with this star. Ben, I've got to leave.
To be fair, the last time something like this happened, it was kind of a big deal.
Galactus.
No.
You're talking about
star.
Like, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Turns out that was a big deal. They wrote a book about it, if I remember correctly.
In Reed's defense.
I understand. So Wondar, why don't you go, Evan? I want to just give you the floor here.
Oh man,
quick.
are you sure you want to open this? You want to open up this rabbit hole?
What was going on with? Okay, so I just put down Wondar question marks. Clearly, I need some help.
The Thing is the only A-list Marvel superhero this could happen to.
Okay.
In Marvel 2-in-1 number 2, we're introduced to Wondar, who is basically a parody on Superman. He was rocketed from his home world to Earth He was asleep the whole time, but he wasn't in suspended animation. So he aged to about 22 years old, but he was asleep and he didn't learn nothing. So he's literally a big baby. The issue where we meet Wandar, Namorita guest stars because the Thing is teaming up with Namor the Submariner. Now, if Namor and the Thing find an intergalactic man baby, who you think's going to get stuck taking care of him at the end?
Oh, no.
It's not going to be Namor. And so, yeah, Wandar was kind of a subplot in those issues. The Thing was trying to take care of this kid because he felt responsible for him. Later, he does become a hero called the Aquarian. Very, very 70s. He does share an issue of Marvel 2-in-1 with Ben. I want to say he popped up in a Marvel Zombies story at some point. Like, he's one of those that somebody trots out every once in a while just because, wait, this thing actually exists. This guy, but yeah, he is a parody of Superman.
Okay. All right. Duly noted. 37 appearances, which is like 37 appearances for Wandar, which is about what? Almost 30 more than Miracle Man. Because Miracle Man's got 9.
Indeed.
Okay, well, good. I've got myself an education on who Wandar was, playing with Franklin on the living room floor.
Oh, although, actually, I'm just, now here's another rabbit hole I'm going to have to go down. His first appearance was not Marvel 2-in-1 number 2. It was Fear number 17.
Yeah, 1973. July of 1973.
That was just 2 issues before Howard the Duck. Okay, well, I have got to. All right, more about Wandar. I thought I knew, but
learned something.
Apparently, I'd only scratched the surface.
Speaking of dates, it seems like that's what I focus on a lot here when it comes to these books and how old they are. But Ghost Rider gets picked up by a tornado of wind, and then he gets set down on his butt, and he's like, "No one can do that. That's impossible." And I don't know if it's just because he thinks that nobody should be able to mess with him and just toss him out of a town. And then I wrote down, I guess Ghost Rider hasn't met Storm yet. That is the case because Giant Size X-Men doesn't happen until the next year in 1975, and Storm doesn't get introduced until then. So I guess maybe,
there you go.
Maybe not. And yeah, I did put, like, imagine reading this in 74. Are they putting God in a comic? You have to know something about religion to understand what's going on in this comic. Evan, you mentioned that. I didn't expect it to be like that kind of taboo back in the 60s and 70s. I feel like nowadays it would be more taboo to see something like this in a comic because no company wants to either offend somebody or support some other. So it is interesting to see. But, you know, yeah, here comes this shadowy person's like, be gone from here. And yeah, you think, oh, it's God with a cape. God wears a cape? What is going on here? Then, of course, we find out it's the Miracle Man. Just looking at that name and what's going on here, it's interesting that it's that villain. The Pogo plane, one of those Fantastic Four vehicles that has got to have a entry somewhere into some book about, like, the Fantastic Four. I believe there's a Four Freedoms Plaza in the Update 89 Ohatmu. So I'm sure there's got to be a Pogo plane diagram somewhere.
Yeah, that has appeared from time to time.
The Pogo plane. I've been called a wise guy before, but this is ridiculous.
Ben Grimm has the best lines.
He does that. You've pointed that out before, and now I tend to agree with you. So there you go. That is all of my notes that I have for Silent Night, Deadly Night. Evan, you picked this book. I give you the floor, sir.
Well, and I know this isn't unspoken issues, so we won't be picking a panel. But if I was to pick a panel, it would be panel 4 on page 13, where the Thing and Ghost Rider, as undercover wise men, deliver gifts to the baby with what appears to be a capybara in the background. No idea what that is. But Ben Grimm is a hero. He's a fighter. He's a friend. He is not an actor. We brought the kids some myrrh. Whatever that is. Okay. This is a crazy plot. I have no idea how Steve Gerber conceived of it. What I love about this story and other ones like this, I don't think Bob Haney ever did any work for Marvel, but if he did, I don't feel like he would have gone this crazy, but it would have been, I would love to have seen Bob Haney write Marvel 2-in-1. But what I love about the Haney stories from Brave and the Bold, and what I love about this story, is it is absolutely bonkers, and they play it completely straight. I mean, there are laughs in here, to be sure, but the plot is dead on straight. One thing I like is that although Miracle Man talks a good game and is powerful, at no point do we get any indication other than his own narration that this had a chance of working. He understands what happened in the nativity story. The wise men didn't really show up till 2 years later, but he does not understand the why. He's like, well, if I just have all these pieces in place, then clearly I can be God. He is convinced that the thing in Ghost Rider ruined it because we're half a world away, different ethnicities, but a dude with a skull for a head and a guy with rock skin, that's why this didn't work. Like, I have a feeling if they didn't show up, he would have just burned down the village anyway, the reservation, nothing would have happened. They're powerful. If he's manipulating one of them, but he thought he was going to become God or something close to it, and nope, sorry. No. What I also like is that they were clearly hinting, with the creator, the master. At no point did I feel like this was mocking or disrespecting Christianity.
True.
Yeah, Miracle Man was, for sure. Miracle Man is the smartest guy he ever met. So he thinks he's awesome. He doesn't answer to a higher power. But, none of this was, haha, Christianity's dumb. Far from it. Like I said, they played the idea straight. And they were like, wouldn't it be weird if, it's Christmas Eve and the nativity's just happening in Arizona? That would be kind of freaky, right? I love that. For as much as this issue makes me laugh and is an insane joy, they were like, yep, this is what's happening. This is the world we live in. I can enjoy some meta humor, but man, sometimes I just need superheroes to be superheroes, no matter how dumb the situation is.
Yeah.
So yes, I thoroughly enjoy this every time I read it. At the newspaper, they were asking people what their Christmas favorites were, like favorite Christmas food, favorite Christmas movie, favorite Christmas song. And I'm like, you guys want my favorite Christmas comic? And they said, sure, yeah, why not? I don't know if you'll want this in there, but I looked it up. What I was saying about them being careful about referencing God, although I guess it was a few years later that this might have become a problem, but Ghost Rider references a friend helping him. And there was a friend, a character just referred to as a friend, and it was written by Tony Isabella. And essentially, the friend was Jesus.
Oh, really?
Ghost Rider was fighting the devil, fighting the forces of hell. According to this interview, I was discussing the book with a group of writers, confident that one way or another I get Johnny out of this jam. That's when the legendary Steve Gerber quipped, "Why don't you have God save him?"
Oh, wow.
And apparently he talked it over with Roy Thomas. He talked it over with Len Wein. He talked it over with Marv Wolfman. They were all good with it. But at some point when it came time to reveal what was going on, Jim Shooter said, nope. And the friend was revealed to be a demon.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what it is, but I imagine it had something to do with we're not going to have Jesus show up in a comic. I don't know if they were worried about offending people, but the original intent for this 2-year story was to reveal that the guy helping Ghost Rider out was Jesus, and the editor said, nah, we're not doing that.
Wow.
According to Tony Isabella.
Well, that's very interesting. Good book. I mean, I had a good time here. It's 70s storytelling, and it's Steve Gerber, and it's completely bonkers. You're just like, okay, I got to be on for the ride here. That's just the way it's going to be. I'm just going to enjoy the ride and see what happens. It was a good time, man. I enjoyed myself. Good story. I mean, Steve Gerber, you can appreciate him for so many things that he's done. Like I was saying, the 70s were really prolific. 215 in the 1970s for Marvel Comics. That's how many credits he had. And then 1980s, things slowed down.
Putting in work.
Right. Things slowed down for him in the 80s. He only has 21 credits there. This is all for Marvel.
Well, he and Marvel were in a fight at that point.
What was going on then? Because I remember a little bit about that.
It had to do with ownership of Howard the Duck. But he did come back. You know, you and I a couple years back discussed his arc on She-Hulk where he was reunited with Howard.
Right.
The cosmic squish principle.
Yeah.
And he would return to Howard several times. At one point, he would claim to have stolen Howard back from Marvel in canon.
We need to cover that at some point on Unspoken Issues.
Yeah.
And he would still come back after that to write Howard. I mean, I've heard people say Howard the Duck is one of those characters that if Steve Gerber's not writing him, it just doesn't feel the same. Chip Zdarsky did a great job. I will say that. It wasn't quite Steve Gerber level, but he did good stuff.
All right. Well, there is our discussion on Marvel 2-in-1 number 8. Happy holidays, everybody. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into plugs. So, Chris Armstrong, let him know what you got going on over there.
Yeah, I've got another couple of movie podcasts I do with my buddy AJ. One of them is called Small Screeners. We talk about direct-to-video and made-for-TV movies. Also got another one called Because Movies, where we just talk about whatever we want movie-wise. And you can find those on your podcatcher of choice.
All right, Evan Bevins, let them all know. I know there's additional stuff out there about this issue, right?
Yeah, I did a post on it a couple years ago on either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day over at asterisk51.blogspot.com. You can find a few of my other favorite Christmas comics over there. I also have the phenomenal King in Black tie-in where Iron Man and Doctor Doom team up to fight a venomized Santa Claus. I just happy comics like this exist. Then there was an issue of Uncanny X-Men where the X-Men during their Australia era get to play Santa Claus with the help of Longshot, as you do. I also last year finally wrote down my mad theory about how the Muppet Christmas Carol is a real-life expression of a major plot point in Iron Man 2. There's an aspect of Iron Man 2 that always troubled me. Much like The Usual Suspects helped me understand the philosophical treatises of Gilles Deleuze, the Muppet Christmas Carol helped me understand and comprehend Iron Man 2. That particular X-Men issue was Uncanny X-Men number 230.
Okay.
So, yeah. So you can find that and a whole lot more comic book goodness and weirdness, which really is the same thing, over at asterisk51.blogspot.com.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Source Material Comics Podcast. Happy holidays. Check out all those fantastic episodes we've done in the past. Me and Mark had some great conversations about life, death, and other things when we talked about the many deaths of Layla Starr, The Crow, a lot of fun that's happened over the past year. So please feel free to check that out. The Unspoken Issues podcast, where we stay on top of 90s comics and have a good time talking about those. Go check out the Unspoken Decade Facebook page. We're in affiliation with them. 90s comics all the time. And then, of course, the Snap Material podcast, where we talk Marvel Snap. If you play that on your mobile device, me and Evan do about 4 or 5 episodes that are about 20 minutes apiece. So you could check them out and see what we got wrong, which is usually most things, and how much fun we had doing it. That being said, over there is Chris Armstrong. Over there is Evan Bevins. I'm Jesse Starcher. We'll talk to you most likely next year. Have a good one.
Have a clobbering Christmas.
There it is. Perfect.
I would have gone with It's Carolyn Time.